So now let's move on to distance and midpoint. Distance and midpoint. So when we think about the distance formula, we are thinking about the length of, or the length between 2 points, or the distance between 2 points. So above we have the formula, so we're going to substitute in. Now, when you do this, I strongly suggest, unless you, especially if you have a hard time paying attention to detail, you need to label your points like we do when we do slope. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. Okay? So now we know that the distance is going to be, and I'm going to say D equals because that's the distance. If you want to write DE, that's the same because that means just the distance from D to E. So the distance is going to be equal to X2, which is 5, subtract X1, which is a -4, squared, plus Y2, which is -9, minus Y1, which is 3, squared. So when we do it, we already know that 2 negatives make a positive here. So when we simplify, this is just like saying 5 plus 4, which is 9. So we're going to have 9 squared plus -9 minus 3 is going to be a -12. And if we square that, we will end up getting the square root of 81 plus 144. And we know that the square root of 81 plus 144 is going to end up being the square root of 225. And if I take the square root of 225, I will end up getting 15. Now, midpoint formula. We want to find the coordinates of the midpoint. Okay, so we're looking at 2 points, J and point K. So the midpoint states that all you have to do is find the point that is halfway for the x's and halfway for the y values. So essentially, all you are doing is finding the median of the two. And anytime you have two numbers in the middle, you have to add them up and divide them by 2 to find the median. So if we go based off of the formula, making sure that we label x1, y1, x2, y2, what we end up having to do is we end up having that the midpoint, which is denoted by a capital M, is going to be equal to -6 plus 12 divided by 2. And is the y value is going to be 2 plus -7 divided by 2. Okay, so -6 plus 12 is a +6, and 6 divided by 2, of course, is 3. Then here we have 2 plus -7, so a positive and a negative is a minus. So 2 minus 7 is a -5, and keep the dividing by 2. And then we can simplify. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And -5 divided by 2 is a -2.5, or you can leave it as a fraction as -5/2. It is the same answer. If you want to put it in decimal form, that's fine. If you want to leave it as a fraction, that is also fine. All right. Last but not least, if M is the midpoint of AB and M and A is located at 8, -5, and -3, -17, respectively, what are the coordinates of B? So if we go based off of the midpoint formula, I know that if I add the two x values of my endpoints and divide it by 2, is going to give me the middle point. So I can set up an equation with that. So remember, it says M and A. So M is the midpoint. So this is the x value of the midpoint. This is the y value of the midpoint. This is going to be x1, and this is going to be y1. The coordinates of B, because we do not know them, is going to be x2, y2 for right now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up two equations. So normally when we find our midpoint, we do x1 plus x2 divided by 2, and that should equal your midpoint. So if I use that, I'm going to have negative 3 plus x2. Remember, you have to add the endpoint x values. Divided by 2 is going to be equal to the x value midpoint, which is going to be 8. So when I do that, I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. And I end up with negative 3 plus x2 is equal to 16. And then I need to add 3 to both sides. So I get x2 is going to be equal to 19. I can do the same thing for the y's. I can say negative 17, which is y1, plus the y2 that I don't know, divided by 2 is equal to negative 5. And then I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. And I end up getting negative 17 plus y2 is equal to negative 10. And then I have to add 17 to both sides, so I end up getting y2 is equal to 7. So B is located at 19.7. And you can check your answer by finding the midpoint. So A is located at negative 3, negative 17, and B is located at 19 and 7. So if I were to add my x values together, negative 3 plus 19 is a positive 16, and 16 divided by 2 is 8. And then if we do the same thing to the y values, we should get negative 5. So if we do negative 17 plus 7, that is negative 10, and negative 10 divided by 2 is 5. So it does make my midpoint work. If you have any questions, write them down, and we will discuss them next time I see you. Have a great day.